Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast. We combat the negativity that inundates our daily lives with a positive perspective and positive action. Today's guest is Karyn Seitz. As a former spiritual leader and seeker, Karyn desperately tried to eliminate negativity from her life. Despite her best efforts to stay positive, she felt exhausted and under immense internal pressure to keep up her facade of being serene and unfazed by negativity. Karyn interpreted from her spiritual practices that negative emotions and experiences were bad, and that the ultimate goal was to achieve a state of Zen, even in the face of challenges and hardships. Through a profound shift in perspective, Karyn found peace in the most unlikely of places, embracing the challenges and adversity in herself and in life as a way of self-actualization and cultivating inner happiness. Karyn teaches others the same journey she has taken to embrace the reality of life as a path of self-actualization and happiness. So please welcome to the show, Karyn Seitz. Karyn, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Really appreciate
Thanks for having me, Bob. It's great to be here.
it. Great, great. Well, why don't we start off with telling people about you and how you got to where you are today? Because I always, I want to give people a background of the guests and what they
Yeah.
went through.
Yeah, of course. So today I call myself the happiness mentor, and it's been a journey to get here. About 15 years ago now. I'm about almost 39, and when I was 25, I hit really a rock bottom in my life. I had a really self-destructive start to my adulthood, which started in my teen years. I was very rebellious. And when I was 25, I hit a point where I knew it was time to start to get some help and start to try to figure myself out and get myself on a better path in life. And that's where I began seeking. And I went to therapy for a while. I did anything and everything under the spiritual realm, trying to figure myself out, trying to get my life on track, trying to know who I was. And I was really just going around in circles. And one of the challenges that I had that you read from my bio is I was trying to create this bubble in my life to not let any negativity in, to not let any challenges in, any hardship in. And that was actually really self-destructive to me because I was not grounded in the reality of life. I was trying to make life look like this kind of straight and narrow line, right? When
It don't work
life,
that way.
it doesn't work that way, that life is a series of ups and downs and challenges and obstacles and adversities. So anytime a challenge or obstacle would come along, I had no muscle to even know how to navigate life and would really just shut down, put a smile on my face, pretend like everything was fine, but be under this immense pressure and immense stress trying to keep this facade up and not being in reality. So when I was 31, I met my mentors who have been pivotal in my own personal growth and my own journey in life. And they were the first people to really be straight with me that I was the problem in my life. It wasn't my past, it wasn't my upbringing, it wasn't my husband, it wasn't my failed relationships. It was me and my choices and decisions. And that was an incredibly empowering perspective to awaken to, because it then allowed me to be the solution and actually learn how to navigate life and understand where negativity comes from
Yeah.
so that I can know what the solution was, because I had it all wrong. So today, I help other people, especially women, learn how to be happy, which I define as feeling good about who you are and just wanting to be you and just wanting the life that you have. And we've never been taught that. And it's the same journey that I've taken. So I feel very honored to be able to teach people that same roadmap so that they can have fulfilling, meaningful lives.
And that's a great perspective. You bring up some great points with that is being happy with yourself and your life as it is. We're allowed to be happy. I think there's something in society, or like you said, we're raised that way or ingrained somehow that we always have to be striving for something else, something else, something else, something else, prove something. And it's not only, speaking from a male perspective, it's not only on a women's side, it's a male side too. you've got to be able to be out there producing for the family, etc. Um, and it can be good things, but it can, like you said, it can be stressful because you're thinking this perspective, and it could be totally different than what you initially thought or what you
Mm,
were raised to think. It's interesting you brought that up because you talk about, great things and happiness with women's empowerment.
mm,
Do you think that can go across all, across men and women as well? Because
mm,
I mean, some of those things are great pieces that people need to remember and
mm.
realize.
Oh, absolutely. There's what I teach in happiness is very universal.
Mhm.
What I have discovered in my own experience, um, in working with men and working with women, men are very much problem solvers and
Yeah.
and very much like to, okay, let me look at this, let me figure it out, let's move forward, which is wonderful. And I appreciate that about my husband so much because it helps me get out of the weeds sometimes of
Yeah.
where I want to stay stuck, in circles. And I learn a lot, a whole lot from my husband, and that's been a huge gift. And so what I have found in working with women is we really create this attachment to being unhappy in
Hmm.
our lives. And I can speak from my own personal experience because I think a big difference between men and women is as women, we aren't typically problem solvers. And I say that generally, not saying
Hmm.
that there aren't
Right.
women who are problem solvers, but it is not something that comes naturally to us or most of
Mhm.
us. It is a skill I have had to build in my life, which has helped me to start to embrace the challenges, embrace the hardships. And so, what I teach with women is how we need to plan
Yeah.
and look ahead and actually think through things of how do we want to respond with this when this happens? What are the
Right.
options? What are the obstacles that are going to come up? And I have found men do that much more naturally. It's just as men and women, we have differences and we have different struggles and different challenges. I'm a woman and have focused on what are my challenges as a woman. So I love working with women to help them overcome that. But then I love working with men too because you guys are want to get to it, problem solve, and it's simple. So I learned so much from both experiences.
Right. And that's, as a man, I fully understand that. Yeah, we would just boom, let's focus on getting it done. I want to accomplish that task. Um, I think some of that comes on the women's side may come from, do you think it comes from, if you will, a motherly instinct, that nurturing instinct that
Mm,
most women will have of, wanting to care for something? You
mm.
care about what others may see you, you may care about how you look, is that in that realm or not?
Yeah, I don't equate it to that motherly side or nurturing
Mhm.
side. However, I do equate it to what you were sharing, Bob, in that we as women, and speaking from my own experience and myself and working with hundreds of women, we do get really caught up in how we look to others,
Mhm.
how we're perceived. The very basis of our unhappiness within us is coming from a place of not valuing ourselves.
Wow.
That
Okay.
we're looking and seeking to get our sense of value and our sense of worth from the people and things in our lives.
Right.
And that causes us to live in this facade of being who we think we need to be to get that sense of self-worth, to get that sense of value. And then what happens is we actually disconnect from who we are and we've
Right.
become a chameleon, so to speak,
Gotcha.
and then have to live in that facade. That's what I did trying to combat negativity in my life on my spiritual journey, was
Gotcha.
creating this facade of positivity, but
Wow.
never dealing with what I was feeling on the inside.
Right. And you brought up another point, and I don't know if everybody caught this, but as you go along this perceived path and life does, the up and down line to you, how
Yeah,
are you going to deal with that? Things will happen to us all. It
yeah.
doesn't matter, your age, race, gender, doesn't none of that matters. Things are going to happen to us. how do we deal with that? I think that's a key point you bring up is understanding that things will happen and you're
Mhm.
allowed to be happy. I think those are so critical because
Yeah.
it's our life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the things that I've learned over the years and came across in my own journey is in the lines of what you're saying, Bob, is we have the right to be happy.
Yeah,
And part of it is we have, as you alluded to a little bit ago, we have a very misled understanding of what happiness is.
right,
And we think it's checking the boxes in life. And I got to get married and I'll have the kids and I'll get the house and I'll have the career and I get the degree and I take the vacations and I get, all the things that we want in life and then I'll be happy. And it never works that way. That's actually the very epitome of being unhappy, is we're
right,
constantly seeking for what we think out here will make us happy.
right,
And the beauty of what I teach about happiness is that happiness is, I only want to be me and I only want the life I have, not because of what's in it, not because of
right,
what's not in it, but because I embrace life for what it is, to grow and learn for the purpose of building value in myself, to show myself I'm important to me, to believe
right,
in myself, to trust myself with life, which means even through the ups and downs, we can be happy because it's not about having a smile on your face and
right.
just being the sunshine of positivity all the time. That's not realistic. I lived that and it was
Yeah.
incredibly stressful. And all it did was actually suppress my emotional pain,
Hmm.
suppress the negativity that was inside me. And I pointed the finger outside of me to why I felt that way, but then covered it all up and just glued a smile to my face. And that doesn't work. It's really
Right.
about understanding the solution to negativity is understanding that it comes from our own suppression of our pain. And then again, looking outside of us to the people, the things, the experiences we've gone through, thinking that's what makes us feel negative. That's what brings negativity in our lives, when actually it's our response to life and
Right.
how we
Wow.
deal with or handle life or don't handle life. So, and then in that, there's a solution to that. Um, so that's really been a big part of what I've had to look at for myself and really embrace, life is certain.
Yeah.
Here's the certainty in life. It's going to bring you obstacles. It's going to bring you challenges. It's going to bring you the unexpected. And when we know that and we use those experiences as opportunities to learn and grow, life is known. And so we don't have to live in fear and we can actually do something to support us in the unexpected or the unknown that might come down the road, which I call the power of planning.
Hey, what a concept.
And actually anticipating what's coming down the line, what's coming up in the next 5, 10 years that I can anticipate happening. So I'm not burying my head in the sand, pretending
Right.
this isn't going to happen and living in that bubble.
It's yeah. I always tell people when I speak to them, I said I can give you three guarantees in life: death,
Mhm.
taxes, and change.
Oh, that's great.
None of us are here permanently. We're all going to get taxed coming and going, and none of us are getting out of here alive.
Yeah.
So it's um, you talk about how you looked outward in your life, and how did it feel when you realized that wasn't working, and you
Mhm.
found that, if you will, that light, like you talked about. How did that feel when that came on? You saw that. I mean, what did you?
Oh,
Was there a sense of relief? Was it,
huge relief.
yeah,
A huge relief to not need to live in this, again, facade or persona that I had it all together, that I was always positive, that I always had a smile on my face, that I was always joyful. That was a lot of pressure. And that's what a lot of us think happiness is,
yeah,
and why sometimes we can throw our hands up at even the concept of happiness because it sounds exhausting, like we have to be on all the time. And
right,
that's what I was living in. So to have a whole new perspective of, one, that's not what happiness is, that I can be the solution. It's not all the people and things in my life and the circumstances of my life that have led me to where I am, that it's me and my
yeah,
choices and decisions. some people often hear that, Bob, and they say, well, gosh, that's a hard pill to swallow. That must have been really hard. And it wasn't. It was a breath of fresh air because somewhere in me, and I believe this is true for all of us, somewhere in me, I knew I was the problem and I was secretly craving somebody to tell me I was the problem. I
Right.
wasn't getting there consciously on my own, but my therapist, the healers I saw, the people I would go to for help, bless them, all well-meaning and doing what they know to do, but they all enabled me and my stories of
Right.
what had happened to me and why I struggle with this and why I struggle with that. No one said, Karyn, have you looked at your own choices and decisions and how you're creating this in yourself? Because that's the only thing you have any control over.
That's
So it
very
was,
true. Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was very freeing. It wasn't a hard pill to swallow. It was like, oh, now there's a path forward.
Right. You saw a light so you could see the path out of the darkness. That's great.
Exactly.
Good
Exactly.
analogy. Huh. Well, you talk about how you reconnected with yourself and feeling enough. Can you explain that a little more? Because I thought that was interesting. You mentioned it previously, that reconnection with yourself and who you really are.
Yeah.
How did that
Yeah.
work for you?
Well, really, a big path of that, of accepting who I was learning how to navigate the obstacles in life, navigate the reality of life as a way to grow and learn about myself. That instead of shielding myself from the reality of life, actually proactively running into it as a way to get to know myself, as a way to build the muscle to know how to do life. And
Hmm.
in that, that began to develop a sense of self-value and a sense of self-worth that I'm important to me, that
Hmm.
I matter to me. And it was from that place and on this journey of being happy, that is how I reconnected with myself, was really making choices, putting myself in experiences that allowed me to get to know who I am. Whereas what I was doing before, trying to avoid challenges, trying to avoid negativity or negative people, or trying to run from anything difficult in
Right.
my life, that kept me completely disconnected from myself because I didn't know who I was or what I was capable of
Wow.
or what I had the potential to achieve and navigate through life. And that playing scared and trying to
Yeah.
create a life of what I call coasting was
Right.
a huge disservice because there was no me in that.
That's interesting. You make yourself have experiences, if you will, so you can see who you are. I hope our listeners heard that because I think that's so critical. Experience life. It's there to live, right? We're not here just to, like you said, not just here to coast through. We want to
Oh,
get to the end, be worn out,
yeah, we
show
want to
how
get to the yeah,
you should giving it all.
yeah. We want to definitely get to the end and look back and know that even if we didn't accomplish some of our dreams or we didn't get to where we thought we were going to get to, that we know that we pushed ourselves and we got outside our comfort zone. We took chances, we took risks. And in that, we will feel good about who we are and how we lived our life and not be on our deathbed in regret.
Right.
We live in regret when we try to play small and we try to hide and we try to protect ourselves from life. That's when we look back and think, gosh, I wish I had taken that risk, or I wish I had gone after that, or I wish I would have faced my fear and broke through my limitations in that.
Yeah.
And that's how we end up in regret.
Great, great analogy and great story for those, wondering how she did it, live those experiences, live that life. Um, if you can, tell us a little bit about, because I reviewed your webpage and
Hmm.
information about you. So far, tell us about your Awaken Grace program. I found that
Yeah,
interesting. That title is so great. Just, one, the idea of awakening and having grace. If you can
yeah.
explain and tell us a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Sure, sure. So Waking Grace is my happiness course, and it really comes from my own experience of what I've been sharing today of to realize that I needed to embrace life, that I was the problem, and therefore empowered to be the solution. That was an awakening within myself and completely shifted how I looked at life, how I perceived the events and circumstances of my life. And it was something that couldn't be undone.
Okay.
And what I've learned and teaching and working with others is that we all have the same capacity to have that shift in perspective in us and have that inner awakening, which is the first step to really cultivating inner happiness.
Mhm.
And grace to me is my experience or one's experience of being at total peace and acceptance with oneself and one's life, which again doesn't come from hiding and playing
Right.
small and pushing life away. It actually comes from embracing what life is and embracing the challenges to grow and learn. And in that, we find acceptance in ourselves, we find acceptance of life, and that's where we find peace, even through challenges, even through the things that happen that we weren't expecting and our curveballs in our life.
And that's great information because to me, it offers hope.
Yeah.
It's not a burden. It's, hey, there's opportunity out here. How are we going to take advantage of that opportunity? You got to take action. You got to live life. You have to find out about, like you said, about yourself and the value we all have. We have gifts from God that none of us, we may not ever use, but they're there. Why not try to share that with the world? Why not show others that great value we have within you? When people see you do that, I think that's what draws them closer to you. It also gives them the opportunity to say, hey, they did it. I can do it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We
I think
have,
that's a great example you're sharing with people.
thank you. And we have incredible gifts that we were born with and God given that if we hide and we try to coast through life, we never get the opportunity to discover those within ourselves, which I think is um, such a loss of ourselves and life and what life and God can have to offer.
Yeah.
And so what I would really like to offer to those listening, I mentioned it a couple times, is how you can step into this to discover who you are, to uncover those gifts. It's actually through what I was talking about in the power of planning, that
Mhm.
we can actually look ahead through the next 5 or 10 years and think about what could be happening. What's likely to happen? Am I going to lose a parent?
Right.
Or my parents, or could a parent get sick? Could I or my spouse lose a job? Are my kids going to be growing up and leaving the house and going to college? And instead of just thinking, oh, I'll deal with that, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, actually slowing down, which we haven't been taught to think, no, we need to look ahead and think of, okay, what's that going to feel like? What challenges are going to come up in that? And then how can I grow and learn from that experience and get to know myself? So there's really 3 steps we can take in that. One, survey the landscape, which is what I just talked about. Look
Right.
what's coming down the road. Number 2, educate yourself on the reality of what you have ahead. So a good example is, say a parent is diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
N- doing your homework to say, okay, yes, this is hard and this is going to be challenging, but what's this going to look like? What are the different phases? What
Right.
what can I anticipate? Or if you have a move, you're going to have a move coming up. Okay, what's this going to be like? What do I need to do to prepare? What can I do different than I did last time? So that's 2, is educate yourself on the reality of what you have ahead. And then number 3 is grow and learn about yourself through the challenges. Don't run from them. Don't try to
Mm.
wish and cross your fingers that they're not coming. Know that they will.
Yeah.
And then know that's your opportunity to grow and learn about yourself. And that's where you create that self value and self worth and feel good about who you are and actually get to know yourself, which is really the journey of being happy. So
Right.
I really wanted to make sure I shared that with the listeners as a way to put into practice some of what Bob and I are talking about today. So thanks, Bob.
No, thank you. That's great. Survey, educate yourself, and grow and learn. So we'll
Yes.
definitely make sure we pop that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
You know, one of the other things I noticed you talked about was there's secrets to feeling vibrant and alive.
Mm.
Everybody wants to know that. So
Mhm.
if you can share some of those secrets with us of how you feel vibrant and alive.
Yeah. Well, one, knowing it's not going to come to you from something or someone outside of you, that
Thank
feeling,
you.
right? No one can make you feel Anything, no one can give you that experience. No thing can give you that experience. So it's not going to come from a vacation. It's not going to come from going and getting a massage or
Right.
going to yoga or anything like that. It actually comes through that experience of connecting with yourself. When you step outside your comfort zone and push yourself to stretch who you are in life and break through your limitations and face your fears, that's where you really learn to believe in who you are and to know who you are. And it's that connection to yourself outside your comfort zone that makes you feel vibrant and alive. When
Okay.
we're living inside that bubble and protecting ourselves from life, we actually feel very bored, stagnant, stifled, disconnected, empty, because we're not growing. So it's
Right.
really saying, looking at what are the things I can do to push myself and stretch myself beyond who I know myself to be. And that's where you will find your connection to yourself and your vibrancy and aliveness. It's you.
Yeah.
It's not something that needs to be done to you or given to you. It's actually you. And what everything we've been talking about today is the path and the secret to feeling vibrant and alive. It's how you connect with yourself and get the most out of life to feel like you're really living, isn't running from it. It is running right into it.
Yeah. There's an old analogy about that, and I forget who talked about it first, but I read it in a book, and it talked about how the difference between buffaloes and cows when there's a storm.
Mm,
You being out in
I know
Colorado,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
the cows run with the storm. The
Yep.
buffaloes will turn around, and run into the storm, so they're through it faster.
Yeah.
I
There
found that
you go.
interesting, and
Yeah.
it's a strength. They know it's coming. They're ready for it. They're going to go headstrong through it and get it over with. While the cows will basically go with the storm and end up being in it sooner or longer, and
Yeah.
probably get hurt or perish from it. So
Mm.
great analogy there with your idea of experience that life. That's we've got to do that, and especially after with all this COVID scenarios, people been quarantine and whatnot. They're starting to come back, but let's experience people in life again. Why not get out
Yeah.
there and share
Yeah. Oh, we've
that?
definitely, and myself included, I can speak from my experience, created a COVID bubble. And this
Yeah,
past, I'd say, past year really been focusing on getting outside that bubble and getting back out into life and knowing
right.
that this isn't how we are meant to live and
Yeah,
isn't meant for who we are as humans. And COVID in itself became this huge safety bubble
yeah,
to where we got to hide from life. And now it's time to get back out and really be in life and not continue some of the bad habits that we picked
right.
up during COVID and staying at home and hiding and watching Netflix all the time and
Yeah,
ordering to-go food and
you're right. Yeah,
yeah,
go get your food. Go out and eat. Stop
yeah,
watching those Netflix. Cancel that subscription.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Karen, where can people find out more about you? Tell us about your website and how they can get a
Yeah,
hold
absolutely. So you can find me at a happinesscourse.com and learn more about me and read some of my blog articles and get to know me that way. Also, if you're listening, I have an incredible masterclass called The Definitive Guide to Happiness that really lays out a roadmap of a lot of what we talked about today. And if anyone would like access to that, you can contact me through my website or you can email me at info@karynseitz.com, and that's Karyn, not Ian.
you. And we'll make sure we put all that in the show notes so everybody
Great.
has that so they can come back and reference that. But Karen, I want to thank you today for being a guest on the Encouragement Engineering podcast. I appreciate the insight, the outlooks and everything that you offer our guests because we need this in our world. We need that ability to look and know that we have greatness within us and we can be happy in our lives. It's our lives. Why not be in that control and go after those experiences?
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been great to talk and to share and just I hope everybody has a great day and thanks for listening.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Karen. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Okay, take care.